Anoushka, and today I would like to talk to you about purging. And what I mean by purging is literally spewing out emotionally, but also expressing yourself, expressing your emotions. It doesn't have to be in such a violent way as to purge or to spew them out, but the importance of expressing our emotions, and especially the negative ones that we tend to push down. Now, the reason that this idea intrigues me is because a few years back I came across articles and documentaries about a drug called ayahuasca. It's more like a medicine than a drug, but it's made from 2 different plants in the Amazon, and there are shamans there who've used it for, hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe even thousands, who knows. And it's a way of basically purifying the soul, I guess you could say. You find a lot of Westerners have been going to South America over the past few years, and longer, further back, in order to tackle things like drug addiction or traumatic childhoods, that kind of thing. It puts you into a trance-like state, from what I've seen, and I think it kind of opens up the pineal gland, and you enter a different world, a different dimension, if you will, where you are brought face to face with certain aspects of yourself which you maybe dislike, or you've buried, or traumatic events in the past that you've buried. So anyway, this really intrigued me, and funnily enough I came across it at a time where I was really feeling the need and the desire to purge myself. I didn't know it at the time, but I was about to hit an emotional breakdown. So I think, somehow that was my higher self kind of saying to me, yeah, you need to release, you're full now, you can't hold on to this anymore, you need to let it go. So yeah, I myself have been through an emotional breakdown, and it's a very intense experience. You don't know where you are from one minute to the next, and it's life-changing. It was for me anyway. It made me realise the importance of dealing with issues, with pain, as it arises in our life. So often we put on a brave face. We'd rather not, show anger, especially in the society we live in now. Anger has become a very negative emotion to express. Anger, frustration, or upset, we try and cover it up and just soldier on. In my view, this is very, very unhealthy, because nothing ever goes away. If it's not dealt with, it simply gets pushed down. I used to be a bottler. I was very good at that. I used to be a people pleaser, and used to want to be the good girl, I guess you could say. Was very obedient as a child, and this kind of thing. So yeah, I already had the natural inclination to bottle things up and to push negative emotion away. And I didn't realise until I had my breakdown how much I had been carrying for so long. It was really scary when I realised, the extent to which I had damaged myself by holding on to these emotions, pain and anger and fear, a sense of isolation and loneliness. It was all at the bottom of what was driving my behaviour subconsciously. So yeah, I don't think it needs an emotional breakdown for us to purge. In fact, I really, really recommend avoiding having to get to that point. But I do think we really need to start being a bit more open about the things that we feel that aren't so great. It doesn't mean you have to wallow in self-pity, but it does mean being honest with yourself and with others. When we allow each other to be honest about what we really feel, we give each other that permission, then we no longer feel the need to hide. We no longer feel the need to worry about other people's expectations of us. We feel safe to be ourselves, to say, actually, you know what, that made me really angry. I'm really pissed off about that. You should be able to say that to someone. It doesn't mean you're going to punch them in the face. Don't do that. You don't even have to shout and scream, but you have every right to express when you're angry. Everyone has a right to be angry, everyone has a right to be upset. Unfortunately, in our society, we put, it's especially as well with the new age spiritual perspective, I feel there's a huge avoidance of negativity. You must be positive all the time. And I was talking to somebody recently who is on her own spiritual journey, and it was interesting because even she said something during our conversation. She said, you know, when I feel a slightly negative thought arise or a negative feeling, I just go, no, cancel that and just think of something positive. And I just thought, well, okay, fair enough. I think that's maybe the first stage that you get to when you're kind of dealing with the positive, negative stuff, you know, spiritually. And then you get to a point where you go, hang on a minute, am I avoiding this? Is this healthy? There are certain thoughts which are just thoughts which are useless and just negative and just silly, and yes, okay, shut them off, cut them off if they're no good, and if they're not based on anything real. You need to be able to differentiate. If they're not based on anything real, then fine. Yeah, tune out, cancel that one out, fine. But don't avoid the real issues that are going on with yourself. If something has happened that really hurts, and you can feel it, you feel it in your physical body, you know, it's like when you have a breakup, our stomachs tend to be in knots. We feel like you've been punched, you know, so if you've been with someone for a long time and you love each other and suddenly out of nowhere they break up with you, you really feel like you've just been punched in the stomach. You feel winded and gutted. Your heart feels heavy, you know, we get lumps in our throat because we're not able to express ourselves, you know. It's all these kinds of things, you feel it. When those things arise, it's too much, it's expecting too much of yourself to be able to just go, oh no, screw that, I'm just going to be positive. You're lying to yourself, and ultimately you're abandoning yourself as well. You're saying, I don't want to deal with that aspect of me, so I'm going to ignore it. Problem is that aspect of you grows, and it becomes this dark monster, and with everything, every issue you don't deal with, every pain and every hurt and every bit of anger that you decide to ignore, this monster that you've hidden in the dark is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until one day something will happen. Believe me, I know. Something will happen that will trigger you, and your reaction will be so unbelievably overblown or great. You will go totally subconscious, and it'll be so overblown, so emotional, that after it's happened, you will actually be in a state of shock, and you'll be there going, what the hell was that? What on earth did I just unleash? What? I didn't even know that existed inside of me. That was the point that I got to. And it's scary because you feel you're losing your mind. You think, hang on a minute, that's not me. I'm not like that. Where did this come from? Where does this monster come from? And it's because, you know, usually we were brought up in situations, or we were around people who didn't allow us to express ourselves, or we were always walking on eggshells. I mean, there's plenty of reasons for it. But unfortunately our society doesn't make it any better either, because we're so anti-negativity, you know, and I think that that's really stupid. I think rather than being anti-negativity, we need to be pro-human, you know, because that's what we are. And we are part of, it's the yin and the yang, we are the light and the dark, and we need to find a way to fuse the two together and come from a place of balance. I recently had something happen to me, which was quite traumatic actually, and this was interesting when it comes to the idea of purging, because the way that I got myself through this, which I've never done before, but it worked for me really well, the way I got myself through this was actually by exercise, which might sound obvious to some people, but I mean this was a big deal. This was someone coming back into my life who I hadn't seen since I was a baby, really. They hadn't been around since I was a baby. This was a parent. And then they left just as suddenly. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of a messes with your head, messes with your emotions, completely throws you off balance. Yeah, it was a big deal. And anyway, you know, I'm of the mind that everything does happen for a reason, and I actually think that this is the most positive thing. I don't think in this lifetime we are meant to be in each other's lives like that, which is fine by me. You know, I am coming to peace with that. But nonetheless, there was still pain there. And I have been reading a lot about and learning about how we have an emotional body, we have a pain body, and when we don't express negative emotion, we hold that pain there in that emotional body. And like I said before, you know, we end up having overblown reactions to little things because they press a button that's in that emotional body. They press a sore point, and suddenly everything goes blah and comes out. And it can be for the smallest reason. And I was aware of this, so I thought, you know what, I need to let this out, not just by crying, not just by talking. I need to release the energy and the tension that's in here. So I did. I started doing that, and I was really being more active than I've been in a long time. And it wasn't a chore, and it was actually really good. I could feel myself sweating out emotion. I'd be running and suddenly a thought would come up, or a feeling would come up about the situation, and I literally used that to fuel my action, to propel me to run even harder. And you find that it's a strange thing, but it's almost as though you come into sync with the pain. You kind of become one with it, and you accept it, and you use it to kind of to move, but also in doing that and in acknowledging it and accepting it, you also release it. You say, yes, okay, you're here, I get it, right, let's do something about this, and then you release it. Might not work for everybody, but for me it does. And I think it's so important when we feel crappy, when we feel down, to acknowledge that pain or that anger or that frustration, whether that be with the person who's involved, or whether that be by bringing it to our consciousness, maybe writing about it, and then going for a long walk, going and dancing, going and moving, running, something. You know, it's important that the body is kept moving. It's important in times like that that you remind yourself that you're still alive, and that you release, that you purge that hurt. So yeah, that is my view, and I hope that's of help to some people, because I've found it really useful. I'm no longer really afraid to express myself, and it's something that my friends have all noticed about me more and more as time's gone on. Doesn't mean that I'm a drama queen or overblown, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to cry if I'm really, really upset and I'm in front of someone. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It doesn't make me less of a person, doesn't make me less strong. Not at all. You know, and I'm not afraid to tell someone that I don't like what they're doing, or that I'm pissed off with them. I can do that without having to go into a rage. And it's nice, you know, it's called being an adult, it's called handling the world maturely. And we need to allow other people to feel what they feel. We need to make a safe space for everyone to be able to be who they are and express what they feel, you know, obviously within reason, without them, you know, overstepping your boundaries or being abusive towards you. But in an adult way, we need to allow that space for everybody. Okay, well, take care of yourselves, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.